Okay, Year 12, make sure that you've printed out the attached worksheet and we will go through it question by question once you've them completed. Okay, write down the temperature shown. Now, the mercury in the thermometer goes up as far as -1, so your temperature is -1 degrees. Temperature rises to 2.4. Mark this temperature on the thermometer. There's 0, 1, 2. Now, your intervals here are divided up into 5 spaces. So you have a full unit divided up into 5. 1 divided by 5 gives you 0.2. Each of your intervals is 0.2. So 0.2, 0.4. There's where you should have your arrow marked on. At midnight, the temperature was -4. By 9 AM, the temperature has increased by 5 degrees. Work out the temperature at 9 AM. So at 9 AM, -4, add your 5 degrees, it's going to take you up to +1 degrees Celsius. Okay. By 11 AM, the temperature was 8 degrees. How much had the temperature increased between midnight? Now, be careful of your keywords. Midnight and 11 AM. So at midnight, the temperature was -4. It increases to 8 degrees. Now remember, think of your number line. Think of the caterpillar at the front of my room. You go from -4 up to 0, that's 4 units you've crossed over. Then to go from 0 up to 8, that's another 8 units, so you have crossed 12 units in total. Okay. Question 2 then. What fraction of the shape is shaded? Give an answer in your simplest form. Okay, so if you count the squares, you've got 12 squares in total. 9 of them are shaded. Now, that would only get you 1 mark. It says to give your answer in its simplest form, so you need to cancel that down. Both can be divided by 3 to give you 3/4, so 3/4 would be your final answer. Write down the percentage of the shape that is not shaded. Now, not shaded is highlighted in bold. Shaded is 3/4, so not shaded is 1/4. You should have learnt by now that 1/4 is the same as 25%. If you haven't learnt those, you need to go back and learn what 20% is, what 33% is, what 10% is, and those are your basic ones that then you can then multiply it up to find 60%, 80%, etc. 2 of these fractions are equivalent to 2/3. Okay, remember, whatever you do to the top, you must do to the bottom. So, to go from 2 to 4, you've multiplied by 2. Have you done the same to the bottom? 3 times 2 does give you 6, so that is an equivalent fraction. We can't multiply 2 to get 9, so that won't be an equivalent fraction. You can multiply 3 to get 15 by 5, but then if we multiply 2 by 5, it gets us 10, so that's not going to be one. 3 times 6 to get us to 18, 2 times 6 will get us 12, so those are 2 equivalent fractions. Okay, work out the value of 5/8 of 40. Remember, you divide by the bottom and multiply by your top. So it should be 40 divided by 8, which gives you 5, and multiply by 5 then your top, which gives you 25. Okay, write down the value of 10 cubed. Now remember, 10 cubed means 10 times 10 times 10. So it's going to be 1000. Work out the value of 7 squared. You should know 7 squared is 49. 5 squared is 25. Do not make the mistake of thinking it's 7 times 2, which is 14. It is not. And it's not 5 times 2, which is 10. So 49, take away your 40 or your 25, gives you 24. Okay, a shopkeeper buys boxes of printer cartridges. Each box costs £150. Each box contains 10 cartridges. Now, if each box is £150 and it contains 10 cartridges, I would like to work out how much one cartridge is worth. So I'm going to divide it by 10. 150 divided by 10 gives me 15. So one cartridge is £15. He then sells the cartridges for £24. So if I have bought them for £15 and I'm selling them on for £24, I want to find out how much profit I'm making, so I'm going to subtract those two. When I subtract those two, I get £9. Okay, now he sells all the cartridges and makes a profit of £180. You then need to find out how many £9, because £9 he makes per item. How many 9s are in 180? So 180 divided by 9, and if this were non-calculator, you should still be able to do it. 9 won't go into 1, 9 will go into 18 twice, and 9 into 0 is not, so he will sell 20 cartridges. Okay, question 6. 0.7 divided by 0.3 squared, and write down all the figures in your calculator display. 7.7, now my calculator came up with a dot, which means that the 7's recurring, or it could have been 7.777777. Okay, round your answer to 2 decimal places. If we're going to round this answer to 2 decimal places, that's your number that you're concerned about. Here. There's your cutoff point. It's this number that makes the decision as to whether you round this number up or keep it, and we want to round it up to 7.78. Okay, all workers are given a pay rise of 2.5%. What is the new salary of a manager who earns 34,600? So 2.5% of £34,600. Now, remember, percentages are out of 100. Your of sign becomes multiply, and then you would go ahead and type that into your calculator. I can't say you needing to get a question like this without a calculator. That gives you the answer of 865. That's not your final answer, that's how much it's going to increase by. So you then need to do the calculation, 34,600, add on your 865, which gives you a final answer of 35,465. Okay, Julia has a pay-as-you-go contract for her mobile. Voice calls cost 70p per minute and text calls cost 10p. In August she paid £15. Okay, she made 120 minutes of voice calls. So she makes 120 minutes of calls at 7p each. Okay, now I would convert that 7p to 0.07 so that it's in pounds. When you multiply that out, that gives you £8.40. Okay, so you want to then find out how much is she left to spend on her text messages. So £8.40 subtract away from your 15. That means that she has £6.60 left to make on texts. £6.60, and each of them are costing 10p. So we want to divide by 0.10 or 0.10 in order to find out how many 10p's are in £6.60. When you do that calculation, it gives you an answer of 66 texts. Okay, in September she made 140 minutes of voice calls. She sent twice the number of texts that she sent in August. How much did she pay that month? So 140 again at 7p. So it's going to be 140 times 0.07, which gives us an answer of £9.80. Okay. She makes twice the number of texts. So she had made 66 texts, times that by 2 to give us 132 texts that she's going to send. 132 texts at 10p each. So we would do 132 times 0.10 to give us an answer of £13.20. And in order to find our total bill, we have to total those two values, £23. Question 9. Okay, you need to know your square numbers, your factors, your multiples. You need to know all those definitions. Remember, a factor is a number that will divide into numbers. Multiples are your times tables. Prime numbers can only be divided by itself in 1. Make sure you know those definitions. Write down the square number. Square number is going to be 16. 4 squared gives you 16. Which two numbers have a total of 50? The only way you're going to know this is if you play about with the numbers, and it's trial and error until you hit on the right combination. The right combination for this question is 19 and 31. Which two numbers have a difference? Remember, difference means you're subtracting. So again, play about with the numbers. When you play about with them, you get 39 and 14. We'll subtract to give you a difference of 25. 50% of 52. Now I would say that this one would be a non-calculator. 50% is the same as a half. So 52 divided by 2. 2 will go into 5 twice with 1 left over, and 2 will go into 12 6 times. So your answer is going to be 26. Which number is a quarter of 84? A quarter is the same as dividing by 4, so 84. Divide by 4. 4 into 8 goes twice, and 4 into 4 goes once. So your answer would be 21 for that question. Okay, Ruth, Sally and Jenny share £500 between them. Jenny receives the smallest amount of £120, and the ratio of Sally's share to Jenny's share is 4:3. Now, Sally's share to Jenny's share. Remember, those are mentioned in the order that they're seen in the ratio. So Sally's is 4, Jenny's is 3. So if I set down the ratio 4:3, and we're being told that Jenny receives the smallest amount, that's Sally's, that's Jenny's. She gets 120. So we know 3 parts of our ratio is equal to 120. Take it down and find 1 part. And to do that, we have to divide both sides by 3. When you do that, that gives you 40. Okay. We want to take it back up and find out Sally's share. So we need 4 parts. So 40 times by your 4 is going to be 160. Now that would get you a couple of marks so far. So far we've used 120, 160. So we've used £280 of our £500. So we need to find out how much we have left over. 500, subtract off your 280, will give you an answer of 320. 220. Okay, so when you cancel that down then, we're looking the ratio of Ruth to Sally's. Ruth, Sally gets 160, Ruth gets 220. Now, first of all, cancel off your zeros. 22 to 16, both will divide by 2, 11 to 8. Okay, and on to the final question. Question 11. Corinne estimates the answer to 22 times 39 is 800. How could she have obtained the answer? Remember, estimate means you round all values to one significant figure. So 22 is going to be 20. 39 is going to be 40. 20 times 40 gives you an answer of 800. Estimate, show you're working out. So 596, if we're rounding it to one significant figure, remember 5 is your first significant figure. You're going to keep it as 6, but remember, fill in zeros up until your decimal point. Divided by 31 is going to round to 30. 600 divided by 30, I can cancel zeros, so I'm left with 60 divided by 3. 3 into 6 will go twice, and 3 into 0 goes not, so your answer is 20.